Hello, hello.
And jumping back on into it, we have, once again, this is a BlazeCasting presentation alongside my co-caster Rainmaker going on through this SECS tournament. Round 3 we have going on. It's going to be, once again, Tag versus Griff's Big Dick Gaming. So kind of a awful name, but nevertheless, let's just go with Griff's as we move on through. We have some Russians and Arabic players, or so they say. So we'll see how that works out. But interested to see. Obviously, they made it to the winners bracket round 3, so I'm sure they have plenty of tricks up their sleeves to try to take the win on this one.
Yeah, it looks like one interesting thing is now that Tag does not have first pick, they're immediately banning the Gondar. They love that hero and they really respect it. Also interesting to note is I'm pretty sure all of the names on Big Dick are just ways to say Big Dick in multiple languages.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So, plenty of different language options there to fill that out, but very, very astute observation. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one. But there you go. Banning out the Darkseer and the Bat Rider. Of course, having a lot of presence in the mid-game as they get some initiation potential with the Vacuum and the Blink Lasso, both those being really, really good heroes, adding a lot of pressure as well with their other kit of abilities, and yeah, just something they don't want to deal with. But the Assassin is getting banned out by the Dire here. The Bounty Hunter and the Templar Assassin, just going to take those off the board, but that leaves open a lot of really, really awesome pickups, namely right here the Magnus. Do you think the Sven is going to be picked up by a Tag right off the bat to make sure that they cannot synergize those together?
Yeah, I think if the other team has Magnus, you really can't allow them to have the Sven as well, because then you're just kind of setting yourself up for really, really rough fights. Because, you know, you can be really far ahead, but then an empowered Sven with God Strength, even like level 11, goes in, you know, Magnus sets up, then your entire team just gets cleaved down. Those 3 heroes, let's say you catch just 3 heroes, right? They're going to die. 100% they're going to die. Like 3-second reverse polarity, yeah. And they go, wow, what is with people pairing Sven with Undying? That is the 3rd time in 3 games?
Exactly, exactly. So they love that tri lane, getting some slowing aspect from the Undying. He benefits a lot from the Decay, over time the Tombstone, and of course they just want to see the big crits. Flesh Golem right up next to them will give a lot of damage amplification, and from there they will be able to do a heck of a lot of damage with that God Strength. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, now that this Sven has been picked up, I'm curious if they want to go for maybe like a Tiny Wisp type thing. They're going to go for with the Keep of the Light though, and kind of go from there. So they have the Magnus, they have really good AoE. They're going to follow it up with some Illuminate action, possibly some Blind after the fact through his ultimate, being able to blind them, reduce their chance to hit for a few seconds there, as well as distributing them a bit. In the Shadow Demon, an odd pickup in my mind. I guess they just really are comfortable with that lane, using Disruption to set up a really powerful Illuminate on one person. But although he's a really high utility hero, and will be played as a lane support alongside Coddle, presumably, for whatever carry they may pick up,
Right.
I'm not sure exactly how it's going to pan out, as other than a bunch of single target damage.
Yeah, I don't think also they needed to pick up the Shadow Demon this early, but perhaps they have a strat where Shadow Demon is going to play a pivotal role. One also thing to note is like everyone now we are getting very comfortable thinking of Shadow Demon as a support, but Shadow Demon is a capable mid hero. He has a great animation, very good damage, so maybe we'll see some of that. On the other side, we have basically, you know, the aggressive tri-lane that every team wants: Sven, Undying, Jakiro. They have all these 3 heroes. It's going to be. I'm curious to see what Big Dick has planned to stop this, because they just gave it away.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully they have some plans here.
Need some big plays Magnus to get that rolling if they're going to have any kind of advantage going on into it. I think they're just going to have to send somebody as survivable as possible, which I honestly don't know who the best option would that be. I mean, Windrunner might be alright, but she's still going to have a really rough time with things. But one way or another, they need somebody who can survive up against that, and I don't think they can engage 3v3 unless they want to go for like an old school Visage, pick up, go Keeper of the Light, Shadow Demon, and Visage. That might be just enough burst damage to single somebody out before the AoEs come out, but I really don't know if that's in their skill set, as it is, like you said, one of the most powerful tri-lanes to go up against.
Yep, bans here. We got the Leshrac, which I think is also Leshrac will be able to land, you know, stuns. Just really easy setup from Magnus, really easy setup from Shadow Demon. So just kind of mitigates one of his big problems there. They're going and banning out the Enigma. Don't know if they've seen the previous games, but Enigma's being pretty pivotal in Team Almost Good strats. So he also works very well with the Sven. You know, if you can't have the Magnus, and Enigma's a close second in terms of, you know, providing that stun that goes through BKB and just gives Sven time to right click. But one thing I'm wondering about is, you know, what is Team Almost Good going to go for their mid hero right now? Because they're going to want something that's going to give them that early presence. The heroes like Invoker, right, for example, take a little bit longer to get going. There's not a Rubik ban so far, so we might see that again, and I think that would go very well with that Jakiro, with that Undying, with that Sven.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what they want to go with on that end. For the Radiance pickups, they have some... The Dire are banning out some really good heroes. The Leshrac, the Tiny, two heroes that I could definitely see going alongside their current lineup. Also curious if they want to maybe go for a Kunkka. Shadow Demon, Kunkka, Keep It Light. Sounds like it would be a really good powerhouse setup for just burning down somebody really quickly. You get the disruption on somebody, suddenly they're torrented up in the air and being hit with a full damage Illuminate. It could be a very, very good powerhouse of damage source if that's the way they want to go, but we'll have to see if that's how they want to shape it up. I mean, that's obviously a kind of niche pickup, but
right.
has its place, but all they're saying, yeah, the Tidehunter, Enigma, and Queen of Pain ban, it's gonna kind of limit. I don't think they're gonna go for the Tidehunter, as they really have the Undying Sven initiation that I already want, but the Enigma and the Queen of Pain would have been two pretty solid pickups. Though Rubik is still on the board, as Team Almost Good did pick that up last game.
Yeah, oh, they're going for a Nyx, and that's an interesting pickup. I'm not sure that, Nyx is really good against Sven because you can just BKB right through the Stormhammer, and then, he just deals well with Strength Heroes in general, so that Undying, that Sven, they're not going to have great times. He doesn't really care about Jakiro either, so it kind of fills that role. But, if Nyx doesn't get a good early start, he kind of turns into a range creep around 20 minutes, even, melee creep, rather. Yeah. So even if you... you need items. You need that armlet. You need, you really want, an AC, maybe a Blink Dagger if you can get away with it, So a lot of the initiation is going to be kind of done for him, just between Shadow Demon picking one person off or Magnus grabbing 6 of them. But he's going to have to do well, and I'm curious to see how they're going to lane him so that he can get those levels and that farm that he really wants.
Yeah, they definitely have to get him in a place where he can farm up effectively. Presumably that would be with the Keeper of the Light and the Shadow Demon. It's a little bit of an odd pickup to go alongside what they already have going. I guess the case will be that they go for the Disrupt on a single target, try to get the Soul Catcher if possible, and then from there pop the Open Wounds with the Illuminate, already having been charging this whole time. That will definitely set up a good possibility for kills, but I definitely there's still some heroes that would be able to get out of it, so anything with Blink, specifically, like if they go for a Puck, it's obviously a weird pickup, but it definitely could do exactly what they need to get out of that terrible situation.
Yeah, actually, Puck with the new changes and the increase in base damage might not be a terrible pick here, but it's just the Nyx makes things strange because, again, we're kind of in this interesting position where neither team, has one of the more traditional carries. I think Lifestealer will eventually outcarry the Sven given him power. The fact that, he is going to get that extra damage, extra cleave. But, they pick up the Beastmaster Roars to go through that BKB. Really great pickup, very smart adaptation. And I think with that, they are also going to have a hero that can either go mid or pretty comfortably long lane.
Yeah, they threw a lot of reserve time to try to pick that up, but I definitely think that's a very interesting pick. Beastmaster with that Primal Roar again. It will go through the rage of the Lifestealer. I was pretty much thinking the two options that are really, really good counters are the Bane and the Beastmaster, but Beastmaster not being channeled, evermore the better choice in that fashion. So it'll be weird how they have to lane it, because Sven and Undying are going to be laning together. I presume this is going to be a mid Beastmaster, but he could go on the off lane as well. It's just going to be him having an extremely rough time and pretty much avoiding the lane altogether, just trying to stack up on the Ancients. So either way, but the Storm is going to be picked up for their solo mid, and that will round out the Radiant lineup rather nicely. It means that Magnus is going to have to offlane, but I definitely think he is one of the few heroes that can handle it. As the second he sees that Stormhammer coming, immediately skewers away. It'll put him out of range of the Jakiro Ice Path and kind of go from there. Yeah,
that's Storm is an interesting pickup here because it kind of shows that, firstly the Storm Lifestealer interaction is really cool because you can just zip in and eat someone, but they're going for pickoffs, and wow, it clinks. That makes this I couldn't say who wants to do what here, because both teams are comfortable at all stages of the game. They've got powerful early games, they've got great stuns, good setups, they've got a lot of mid-game teamfight presence on both lineups, and they scaling into the late game quite well, so this is going to be a really interesting game, and I think it's going to come down to just how people play it out.
Oh, obviously, this it's Dota, man.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, the drafts are fairly even, a little bit unpredictable sense in both aspects, the Lifesteal and the Clinks, needing some really aggressive farms, but one thing that I really like about the Clinks counter pickup is getting that Orchid really quickly is pretty much the hardest counter you can get against that Storm Spirit. If you can get that Orchid off on him, there's absolutely nothing you can do to run away, and even follow up with the Primal Roar if the burst damage isn't enough. So it definitely adds in plenty to it. So I definitely like that pickup. It's just how they're going to lane it. If they're going to go for a solo mid clinks or force them onto the suicide lane, where no carry generally wants to be, but they could play him not necessarily as a carry, but just as a ganker with that Orchid as soon as he can pick that up.
Yeah. The lanes are going to decide a lot. I'm curious to see, who is going to be going, and we might have a Tri-Lane versus Tri-Lane clash here, but I don't think that that's as favorable for the Sven as it would be previously, because, self-disruption, disrupting the target of the Stormbolt, these are all good measures against the Sven, and again, it's just really going to have to come down to play. Whoever gets an advantage early here, will be able to start going and securing Roches, getting more aggressive wards up, and I think both teams want to play aggressively and go for pickoffs, so the laning phase is going to decide a huge amount here.
So there's one thing we have to get out of the way and figure out right off the bat. How do we want to call the Radiant's team names?
I think we're going to say, Big Dick Nakes, like, I don't know. It's all the same shit, right? So
yeah, pretty much. It's just like Exiled is really the only specific defect, I guess, will be alright. But other than that, I've honestly no idea where to go from there. So I'll probably just more often than not going to be calling the hero name, because, friggin' big dicks. Whatever. Anyways, starting out things off, it looks like supportive pickups from the Undying. Going for possibly an early Basilius will be interesting for trying to put out some push aggression. That might mean Jakiro will be looking for some Liquid Fire early on, put some pressure on the towers. Yeah, assuming they're going for the 3v1, that definitely gives them a good option in that regard, and gives them some early momentum if they can get a little bit more map control by knocking down the doors of some towers. But based on the team's positioning, I think it's going to be a 3v3 on bottom lane. But right now, it looks like the 3 on Dire are walking into 5 on Radiant. Now they are both caught out. Undying might just want to go for a little pick auto attack just to mess with him, but unfortunately he has, unbeknownst to the Dire, plenty of backup to keep him rocking and rolling. So we'll see what's going to happen, but I don't think they want to hug at this stage in the game. Maybe when Sven has maximum item count and gets a beautiful setup from his allies, then he'll come in and give that next one big sword of a hug. But nevertheless, it looks like Glint picking up Undying this time around. He was playing the Enigma last time. Did some great black holes. Let's see how he can initiate on this hero with a vastly different skill set.
Yeah, I think one thing here is that this Tri-Lane is going to, favor the Radiant, not just because of pulls, but because Illuminate's going to keep this offensive Tri-Lane from pushing too well, and the Nakes is just going to be, they're harder to kill than the Tri-Lanes we've seen against Sven earlier this day. So I'm not sure, how well it's going to do with this Undying being so level hungry, with this Jakiro being so level hungry.
Definitely agreeing with that sentiment. I mean, Shadow Demon and Keep It Light can work very well at like level 1 through 4. Doesn't really matter too much what level they are. They can help out in plenty of different ways. But I'm curious to see how they're going to disrupt the momentum of the Dire. Are they going to be able to, disrupt Lifestealer if he gets targeted by a Stormbolt, or what are they going to be focusing on there? But starting things off, the Radiant pull is available. Actually, Ice Path to start. Really, I guess he just wants some auto attack harass, but has to be careful as there are two other heroes in the lane that can throw in some aggression. But starting off, looks like Undying wants to stack up the Ancients for their Beastmaster buddy, who's 1v1 up on the top, up against Magnus, so he can pick those up in the near future. Also, Sven can do a pretty good job with that as well with Greater Cleave. But starting things off, Disruption coming on out, and Ice Path and Illuminate, really nothing locking anybody down. It's just kind of a little bit of early on harassment, kind of drawing the line and trying to put pressure out in both directions. Nice decay going on through, getting a couple stacks right there. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a very, neither team is going to be able to have their carries farm particularly well in this lane, and I think that does in fact favor the Dire, since the Nyx needs a few more creeps than the Sven. And by few I mean a lot. Sven gets a ton of damage. So that is, one thing that is going to be going against them. But again, I don't think they can push, and what they're losing here, they're getting in the fact that their Magnus is going to, have a great uptime top. Beastmaster is a good solo hero, but he really excels in the capacity since he can get vision from wards, since he can use Inner Beast to go and have his creeps push out and always make sure he gets runes. In the top lane, he's still good. He can still spam his axes and get vision for runes, but just not quite as strong as he would be otherwise. So one thing to mention is that the Clinks is actually going in the middle lane, And that's kind of a like last month's Chinese style of going with putting the carry in the middle, just trying to give him as much farm window as possible, ward up safely for him so that the supports on bottom cannot transition mid, and then just try to get some pressure out from him. Again, I don't think he's going to be the primary carry, as they definitely want to get Sven rocking and rolling, but nevertheless, Clinks can do a lot with that early Orchid, trying to go for some quick ganks and quick pickoffs there. But yeah, other than that, they're just still drawing lines. Shadow Demon wants to get a couple more levels up on possibly Soul Catcher, try to single somebody out, but generally speaking, in a tri-lane 3v3, the AoE is going to trump the single target, and I definitely think that if the Dire get their spells off the way they want them to, Radiant's going to have a tough time of it. However, Undying burning through a lot of mana really early on, as that Tombstone does cost 120 even at rank 1.
Oh, you mean he's got decay, so he's just been spamming decay, right?
Yeah, now that he has the Tombstone, he doesn't.
Oh, I was so confused.
Sorry.
I thought I missed something, and I'm like, what? Do I Dota? But anyway, yeah. So that is going to be a pretty big problem. But he's not that far away from his Basilius, and it's going to be helpful. They also have a clarity up on the Jakira, so if they desperately need something, they can refuel him. I think what you were saying is 100% accurate, though. The fact that, Ice Path can target multiple heroes is forcing the, and same with Stormbolt for that matter, is forcing the Radiant to play a little bit safer than they'd, like to, and just letting that Sven get the creeps while the Nyx, he's sitting at, it is in fact, wow, it's 11 to 10. This is going a lot better for the Nyx than I thought, but, man, I think the positioning from this Lifestealer is really good. He just goes up to get the creep, and then, walks away. He does not want to be anywhere near the spells.
Along with that, he is never grouping up with his allies. It's a bit of disruption coming out here. I'm not sure if they want to try something with it. It's off the Rage. They do want to go with the open wounds onto Jakiro. The stun goes out on the Shadow Demon. Illuminate goes across, burning down Jakiro really low, but he should still stay alive as he has slowed up the Nyx and is just going to walk away. Sven burning down a lot of mana and HP to try to get that across. Ice Path stopping the Illuminate early. Now Exile's on really low life. There's no more spells coming out of the Undying, and so Lifestealer will survive, but it's been a lot of damage forthcoming. I don't know about that Soul Catcher, kind of complete waste. But disruption, oh, this is a big disruption. They can actually catch him out completely here. There's almost no more mana available on the Dire team, and a couple more auto attacks will do the trick. First Blood goes to the Shadow Demon. Finally, Open Wound's still available. Wants to pick off the Sven, but I don't think it's going to happen. Just not enough follow-up damage from the Radiant supports. Yep,
and that's what you were talking about. With that, the Undying was low on mana and was not able to get that last decay off to go and pick off the Nyx, which just allowed them to turn that fight around. So, a little bit unfortunate there. They gave the First Blood, and Nyx did not, in fact, get an assist, however. So, he's happy, but not quite as happy as he'd like to be.
Very true, very true. So that's something you have to keep an eye on. Trying to get the farm up on the carry is obviously the name of the game early on in the laning phase here. Interesting, Storm Spirit has just hit level 6, so he has a lot more momentum in the lane, has a little bit as far as denies go. He's actually doing really well, 24 and 5, so the Clinks is a little bit behind in that regard, but I don't think Clinks necessarily needs to win this lane to keep that momentum rolling, though. Storm Spirit has ball lightning now moving up towards top, wants to put some pressure on Beastmaster, who has level 6 himself, so Roar will go on down, but if the Magnus can pull him in a pretty good position with that skewer, it might be lights out for him just with the amount of bottle charges that the Storm Spirit has a lot of mana to play around with and can do a lot with it. Other than that, bottom lane there was some pulling action going on, but it looks like Tag wants
top
to...
they're going on him?
Oh, they are going on him now, so nice action from theirs. They're just jumping around, he's trying to roar him up, he finally gets him. There's this long-range shockwave, bringing him down to almost no life, but the ball lightning, there's not enough mana. One thing to note is Storm Spirit can actually bottle while he's ball lightninging, so if Storm Spirit had been doing that, he might have actually had enough mana to pursue on that, but the roar on down, and Magnus really didn't participate in that. It was really a 1v1, despite the fact that they could have been a 2v1.
Yeah, one thing is Magnus, until this gank, Magnus was doing terribly in the lane. I'm really curious to see exactly what that was. There might be some intricacies in the matchup, since I'll be honest, I haven't side laned a Beastmaster versus a Magnus. But he was doing very badly and needed that gank to kind of get himself back in the game. But now he's hit 6, he can pick up his arcanes and start being a little bit more active on the map. And, he's got his ult up. That bot lane, it's pretty juicy looking. It looks like there's going to be some excitement, but a quick Ice Path is going to...
Yeah, oh, wow, top of the Ice Path, though. The Illuminate goes on through. Glint's taking a heck of a lot of damage. He probably will drop down Decay, heals him up for the time being. Soul Catcher, one more hit is all they need. 10 HP, so will survive. But there is a death on the back end. Keep it light, and Shadow Demon drop down as Clinks just delivering so many flames. Look at the Ice Path on top of those zombies. It just gets obliterated, and that is so many kills and assists for the Clinks. Just bounding on through them. Beautiful, beautiful gank with that haste rune. Picking that up, and that's the key to get that 6-minute rune and establish that. Now they can actually transition to this to the push with the Siege Creep available. They don't have any liquid fire, but Siege Creep still adds so much more to the push. If Glint can stay alive long enough, they have the Basilius to turn on, and they can put a lot of pressure on this tower right here.
Yep, that's just the power of Undying in the early game. That level 2 Tombstone was just enough to kind of go and take down their supports. Once those creeps are bloodlusted, once those rather zombies are bloodlusted, they do a ton of damage to kind of squishy supports like Coddle, like Eridar. And you know, Coddle really wants to stand still and charge his blast, but he is not going to get the opportunity if once the Tombstone drops. So he's just running around trying to auto attack for as much as he's worth, but it's just not really enough. Along with that decay that landed on not three, just 2 heroes, but it's enough to give him that tankiness along with that Ring of Basilius to mean that he can just participate well in the fight.
Sure,
it looks like they want to be aggressive.
Tombstone will do a bit of counter initiation, but there's just so much damage coming into Sven. If Lifestealer can actually focus it, no, turns his focus to the Tombstone to try to get Shadow Demon out of it, but no, Glint just auto-attacking him down. He cannot heal up the Tombstone, but did enough to make sure that not only Sven got out, but he was actually able to get a kill in that exchange. 2 versus 3. I almost feel like that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, Undying's a pretty strong hero here, and just along with the fact that at these low levels, that Stormbolt takes out about half of the support's HP. The Coddle. Oh man.
Shockwave enough to bring down the Beastmaster, so that's a really good exchange, but he might actually drop down the Jakiro, the boar, slowing him down so much. A few more auto attacks is all they need. Jakiro doesn't have any mana though, the Disruption comes in out, and he will survive with just a little bit of HP left. Soulcatcher hits the boar, but whatever.
Yeah, that's just good exchange on the top lane.
And sorry, the games keep coming, but DD Clink's about to initiate onto the bottom lane here, so I'm just going to keep an eye on that, as I'm sure there's going to be some big kills coming out in a moment's time here. He initiates onto the Keep Light, 3 hits, and he drops him down immediately with that rank 4 Searing Arrows. He could go on the next, but he probably couldn't bring him down, so not even going to bother, just going to walk away and be very happy for it. He's picking up a lot of really good runes and taking a huge advantage out of them.
Yeah, I mean, here, the thing about Shadow Demon and especially the Coddle is, while they're really good supports, they have a lot of utility against the Sven. The problem is they just don't have the HP pool to deal with the Undying. If they get sapped once, Stormbolted, and the Tombstone's down, those zombies are going to be bloodlusted and just go to town on the supports, on the Coddle and the Eridar. So their plan to kind of counteract the Sven, which I think the Coddle and the Eridar do a good job of doing, is completely mitigated by the fact they're really, really bad against this zombie, who can pick up arcanes at this point if he wants to. This Undying is richer than we have seen him in the previous 2 games at minute 10 than at minute 35, I think, in game 1.
Yeah, he was doing pretty swell with that Arcane Boots finally coming up. Along with that Basilius, gives him plenty of gold to work with. He doesn't have any HP regen or TP scrolls, but as soon as he gets a little bit more farm, he will be doing fine there. But one thing to note is now that there's finally not a bounty hunter in this game, since Gondor has been picked up first pick in the past couple games, but got banned out here. Now I don't feel as much as it's a moment game about quick early team fights with track kills. It's all about where the money's going, where the gold density is going to be, and that's on the carries. Focusing on which carry gets the most farm. Right now, Clinks is getting a heck of a lot of gold, and as well as Sven is doing not too shabby whatsoever in these quick exchanges, since they have an advantage of 3 kills right now, and most of it has been on the bottom lane. So been very happy about that, but I think Radiant really want to change that up and try to get Lifestealer some real action.
Yep, Clink's rolling down to the bot lane as well. I think they might have had vision of him going invis, because there's been a lot of pinging going on around the map, but this is actually an interesting start from Clinks. He skipped boots entirely, just relying on that high level of Skeleton Walk, and he's just picking up all the mana components. I think in lane he's probably just been spamming Searing Arrows at every single opportunity to go and get as many of those sweet creeps as possible.
Yeah, I mean, 50 bonus physical damage, nothing to sneeze at. That definitely will help out his burst along with the Aquila, so he has so much mana to spare. Actually, Glint overextending terribly, gets a nice decay off, but now with the Disruption and the Skullcaps are going to burn around really quickly. Flesh Golem not going to happen. Beautiful skewer
great reverse
following up with the reverse polarity, and now Storm Spirit will finish the job there. Now looking at Clinks, he doesn't have the stuns, we'll try to ball lightning out, but now they're actually stunning up actually purging up. The Demonic Purge goes through on the Clinks, and that's a beautiful fight for the Radiant. Taking down 3, and now the tower. Good action from Magnus, right place, right time for sure.
Yep, that Undying got a little bit greedy there. He saw 4 heroes, and he's like, man, I'm going to get so much strength. I'm just going to, man, so much strength. And he just went in there, and eventually he got pulled out and killed. And that's just the power of, Eridar's probably, Shadow Demon now, sorry. I'll do my best on that one. But Shadow Demon is now, he's one of the most aggressive supports, because as soon as you're out of position, that's great setup for the Coddle. That's just great setup, for your Nakes to walk in there, because again, he's got that melee creep problem, and he needs to get in position. But if you, give him time to go and give you that bonus damage, to go and pull you out for 2.5 seconds, you're going to be really, really sad when you show back up.
Interesting thing to point out is Beastmaster, having taken the tier 1 top tower just now, just finished up his mech. Or I thought he did. There was a recipe on the courier, but apparently it's the Orchid recipe. Sorry, initiation going on through as the Tombstone tries to slow down the Storm Spirit. Instead, it's the Skewer that's going on through. So it's a Shockwave, bringing everybody really low, but Magnus on really slow. Now that the Deathlust is active on him, he's not going to be able to pursue, but Storm Spirit, with double damage, is doing so much. The Disruption will keep him up for the time being, and actually burn down the zombies, keeping the Magnus alive as well as getting those 2 kills. Really nice action from Disruptor and Storm Spirit right there.
Yeah, definitely good play, knowing when to go back in and just, you know, using the spells at just in the right time. One also kind of cool thing to note is, as soon as they kind of did well bot, right, they got their kills, they moved the Jakiro to the top lane because they realized that, you know, we're not going to be able to push against the Coddle. So you might as well maximize the experience we get on our support, so, you know, we can have that higher level of Ice Path, higher level of Dual Breath, and, you know, make this Jakiro a bigger presence in the mid game, because we already had War Up on the Beastmaster, so he doesn't need that many more levels. And I think it's nice to see teams, you know, not just sticking to lanes when they've kind of got all they can get out of them. Magnus has now picked up his Blink Dagger, though, and that's going to be a nightmare for the Dire.
Yeah, it's going to be really big. Beastmaster really wanted that mechanism. I thought it was the mech recipe, but actually going for an Orchid recipe this early on was a little bit weird, considering he doesn't have the quarter stage yet. But nevertheless, actually popping Demonic Purge on Jakiro in middle lane, been watching him for a bit, but now it looks like they actually might be able to try to lock him down. Tombstone and the Ice Path, oh, he's so low life with that Soul Catcher and that Illuminate, but he will survive with that 100. No, it's going to be Storm Spirit who picks him up on the back end. Now, the Life Stealer and Storm Spirit have kind of pinned in everybody, so the Undying also was able to be dropped down immediately after.
Yeah, they're just playing that, you know, super happy fun time, Nyx and Storm Spirit, and that is gonna, you know, that's rough. The Dire supports are playing very aggressively because they, you know, they got that advantage in lane, but I think they're kind of overplaying it because there's really no way that you can go and, if the Shadow Demon's there, kill someone quickly enough that the rest of the team won't show up. So yeah, maybe you'll get a kill, but you're gonna pay for it with your life, especially when you consider the kind of initiation range you have from Storm Spirit and Magnus with his Blink and Skewer.
Exactly, yeah, that Blink just being so instrumental in setting things off. The reverse polarity is still available, so he can initiate at any point in time that he wants. Storm Spirit providing a bit of vision. The Hawk was helping out Beastmaster a little bit and seeing exactly what was going on where, but now that that has expired, they really don't know that Magnus can jump in pretty much any time. Now he's in Vision Tower range, so moving on around and just kind of juking in, keeping them guessing, but nevertheless, that Blink's going to be such a big deal in this coming fight, trying to engage on this tier 1 tower here. Meanwhile, though, Clinks is getting quite a bit of farm. 1 quarterstaff up, 300 away from the other one, and from there he will have that Orc from Malevolence, and he needs to take advantage of that as soon as possible. Storm Spirit initiating, there's the Open Wounds into a beautiful Skewer, plus the Reverse Polarity, AoE across the board, Illuminate to finish off, double kill for the Keep It Alight, as well as a quick pick off from the Magnus himself.
Yep, and then we saw that this is a pretty early level of Empower from the, oh my god, no, he is actually already level 11, that's pretty monstrous. But no, this, that extra bonus damage on the Nyx just meant, you know, in that reverse polarity, he kind of gets that, you know, Sven's Cleave just for free, and he's just smacking all of them. With that armlet now, every single time this Magnus reverse polarities, they're going to be a kill. I can't really see just the HP pools, you know, 800, you know, 800 to 850 is not bad. For supports, that's not a bad pool at all, but it's still not going to be enough to kind of deal with the Skewer, to deal with the Shockwave, and this Nyx just going and whacking you with his armlet. So the positioning on Dire is going to have to be immaculate to make sure they do not get caught out by reverse polarities.
Yeah. So now that the Orchid is available on the Clinks, I'm curious to see what he's going to be popping on. I mean, you could theoretically try to prevent the Magnus from doing that amazing reverse polarity. Like you said, it's pretty much a guaranteed kill, assuming it's used in any intelligent fashion. So with that, I'm curious to see if Clinks wants to look at Orchiding up the Magnus, but you got to keep in mind, this is a hero with a really good amount of base armor and strength gain, so he's going to be very durable, and even with that 30% amplification, it's going to be hard to burst him down in that time period. So one way or another, I believe eventually the polarity is going to go off. Now Clinks is getting initiated on. He cannot rage on out because of the Orchid taking a lot of damage, and he will most likely drop down, but nice armlet for the time being, though he is slowed up by the Deathlust of the zombies, as he is on really low life, and will continue to be that way. Nice decay to steal a little bit more of what he has going on. Axe is trying to bring him down. I'm sure he will take a fall. It's just a matter of finishing the job, but nice. Finally pops off his ultimate, the Infest, on the board, and there goes the Roar to make sure that he cannot play around with them anymore. That Wild Goose Chase has ended, and the Life Stealer has fallen.
Yeah, that, you know, just goes to show like how irritating Armlet is these days. With that new toggle time, you can just go and, you know, have some pretty sweet jukes. He forced out a Roar, he forced out a TV from the Jakiro. It was a lot of time too, and that just, you know, this Storm Spirit is moving on. I'm pretty happily to what I'm going to guess is going to be a Bloodstone, and he's going to have that in about another 1,000 gold. So every single time they go to kill the Nakes, which they have to do, they're giving time for the Magnus to get more levels, more farm, for the Storm Spirit to get more levels, more farm, for these supports who, you know, Shadow Demon, oh my god, reverse.
Oh my gosh, big polarity going on out, and just a huge shockwave. The Ice Path is nice, and the Tombstone does go on through, but the Skewer pulling them back into a terrible spot. They will all get dropped down. The Destruction on the front end to try to bring down the Jakiro as well. It should be enough with all those overloads from the Storm Spirit. Will take him down as well, and it all started off with the Clinks getting a little bit over aggressive, trying to burn down the Storm Spirit, or sorry, the Shadow Demon, was not able to do so, and that gave a really big opening for this invisible Storm Spirit to give Magnus the vision he needed to do a beautiful blink initiation. Well played to defect for that one, setting it up for a tier 2 tower kill following those 4 easy heroes.
Yeah, just, you know, really punishing play from the Radiant side, capitalizing on every single mistake they can get. Now they've gone and taken that mid tower. They're looking like they want to go and rotate bot. This Sven's smart enough to get out of there, but again, that reverse polarity is pretty much a kill. They're going on Roche right now. Now, Nakes normally is a pretty terrible Roche carry because he just doesn't have a lot of damage, but with that Armlet, given that it's 18 minutes in and since he can get empowered, they're going to be able to do this in a pretty timely fashion. I don't know how much what Radiant can do to go and stop it, but, you know, they do have macro power, they do have that Stormbolt, and Roar, I believe, yes, Roar is back up. So if they want to fight this, they have a chance of winning since that reverse polarity is still on cooldown.
Yeah, but not for too much longer. 25 seconds from now, that won't be the case. But the Hawk, or yeah, Greater Hawk did scout out the Roche. They were aware of that, and they just all fell back out. But now it looks like Dire might actually want to try to bring him down since he has on half-life. But that, again, that polarity only has a few seconds left. 12 seconds, and it will be in there. And both Radiant and Dire had some ward action going. Now the Hawk has seen them forthcoming, and they only have a couple people in the pit. They're intentionally keeping a couple out, specifically Jakiro, popping off a nice Ice Path and Dual Breath, delaying them so that they can pick up the Aegis for themselves. Sven finishes that, gets the last hit, pops his God Strength, trying to deliver the pain to Deichler. He does get roared up. A beautiful polarity again. 2 caught in that. Storm Spirit doing what damage he can. Necropire on the south end means that supports will be dropping like flies, but Sven has taken a fall as well as Jakiro shortly after, or he should be with that overload. He is out of the stun coming out. Actually, he might. He's just getting open wounds up. He will take a fall in the end, but on the back end, the 3 here, the Dire heroes have taken down the I've lost track of the Magnus, and now the Storm Spirit. Wow, just really good action from Dire. They got the Roche kill, and now they came out on top in that exchange.
Yep, they were able to kind of go and, since they had that Aegis, you know, the Radiant had to go and focus down this Sven since he had popped his ult and he was going to just cleave them all to death, so they focused a lot of resources to killing him. But that meant that the Undying got to stand around and, you know, I think he had like 6 stacks on him at some point, just going and stealing everyone's strength. The AoE damage from between axes, Jakiro, again, Decay, it was enough to kind of draw the fight out long enough so that when Sven came back, he could finish the job. One other thing to note is Sven's Stormbolt caught 2 at the beginning, and there's a fight bot lane, and Nyx kind of wants to man up.
Yeah, but with the TV scroll, will end very prematurely. Nothing really going to come of that one way or another, but plenty of lifesteal for that lifestealer, picking up only a couple points in Feast. What do you think about that?
I mean, here is a game where you really do want to max rage, so that makes sense. It's strange to see, and definitely non-standard, and looks like the Undying gets another kill. On the Magnus, nonetheless. Did you catch that?
Yeah, overextended completely. The Magnus wanted to jump in on that, thought that his blink would save him. They had some ward vision up, but just caught off a little bit too much, and yeah, it didn't work out for them in the end. Yeah,
that was pretty interesting. But he does need that, and, you know, the open wounds, he's basically saying that he's not the only damage dealer on his team right now. He has that Storm Spirit, who actually is going for a Linken's, it looks like now. But he's got the Storm Spirit, who does pretty good damage with Overload procs. He's got the Magnus, who does pretty decent damage. So he's a little bit more utility-based than he would be otherwise. And, again, it's weird, but it's, you know, acceptable. Like, it's definitely a good adjustment, I feel, this game.
Yeah, definitely benefited a lot from the Rage thus far. I mean, obviously the Roar is still penetrating it, held off his damage for quite a bit of time. And now it has come to a point in the game where I think Magnus needs more to get more than just 2 in the polarity. He has gotten 3 or 4 in previous fights, but in that one he only got 2, and though it looked like it was really good, well-timed initiation, unfortunately it forced them to split up their fight quite a bit. Now an engagement going on through, Klink's doing a heck of a lot of damage to Magnus, will allow him to drop down, and with the support may actually bring down Keeper too, but the blind will at least delay that much disruption to keep Lifestealer alive while he is roared up, but unfortunately that means the Shadow Demon will take a fall. Now Lifestealer taking a heck of a lot of damage, trying to burn out through him. Fess up to do a quick burst of damage, trying to bring down Crook, but he's taking so much from the Klinks, who's just standing delivered this entire time. No pressure done out on Klinks means that the Storm Spirit with his Orchid might take a fall here. I'm trying to watch 2 things at once, but now it's actually Glint that's gotten picked off from the Feast and the Open Wounds from the Lifestealer, but he needs to do perfect armlet toggling. He does to survive, and with that, Hyorin really wants to dive in underneath the tower to try to bring him down. Could have tried it, but with that armlet, he probably would have been going suicidally.
Yeah, just great damage coming out from the Klinks. Really, you know, just showing how much DPS he can be capable of with that Orchid. A little bit unfortunate. He was about 1 hit away from the... Looks like Nyx wants to go in here, but I'm not sure. Yeah, he can't really do anything. But only unfortunate thing is he missed the Storm Spirit at 1 hit. Thought the Orchid proc would do enough damage, but just one toggle, I suppose, was enough to go and keep the... No, couldn't be. But the Storm didn't die, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying there. Yeah, he got really, really close, but he had just enough survivability, and the silence damage that does actually deals damage, the 30% amplification after it expires, he thought that that would do the trick, but just misjudged his damage calculation just a little bit, and that meant that Storm survived. Along with that, the Lifestealer was in the fray for quite a long time, bringing down that Undying, who is just such a high HP hero in general. He hasn't built HP items. He's going for the Pipe of Insight, but nevertheless is very susceptible to Nyx trying to lock him down. Now Nyx, after all that, has 2,000 extra gold, just getting a TP scroll to stay mobile on the field, but it looks like Hyorin actually wants to go really aggressive here. There are 3 supports that he's going to be walking on into. As far as detection goes, they Shockwave, but they don't have any detection of their own, so he's just going to be hunting, waiting for one to go off just for a moment's time, all by himself. He has plenty of time on the Shadow Walk. He's going to be looking for an there we go, Orchid, and pops a Strafe. So much damage coming out with the Mechanism, healing him up so the Orchid can't do that much more damage. So now he's just going to Shadow Walk away. Or Skeleton Walk away, sorry, as he tries to stay alive and stay mobile. But again, the Radiant need to get some detection to avoid things like that possibly being their downfall.
One interesting thing is this Magnus is going straight for that refresher. So this just shows how confident he is. He's had a great early game, and this is a huge item pickup. It's going to take a long time for him to get there, and you know, Perseverance is nice, and like an Oblivion Staff is nice, but they're not actually helping him that much until he gets that finished refresher. But once he does, it's going to be very hard. If he picks up a 3-man versus Polarity, they are guaranteed to win that fight, because at level 16, that means you are sitting around not able to do anything for 8 seconds, which is an absolute lifetime in terms of Dota.
Very, very true. That refresher, if he can get to it, can be amazing. There's not really any mana drain options that they can go to try to prevent that, so really they're just going to try to focus on bringing him down before he can actually pick up that big item, as the Recipe Cock 1875 itself. Starting things off, the Tier 1 has Bolin on the bottom lane, and Storm Spirit wreaking a little bit of havoc. One unfortunate thing, though, the Ball Lightning breaks down trees, so every single time he jumps on out, he's leading them to him. And finally, he has been caught out, stunned up by the Stormhammer, and despite that haste room, will just be locked down in the end.
Yeah, also, the Jakiro has gone and picked up a Ghost Scepter, which is going to basically mitigate it with a large portion of, well, all of Nyx's damage, and a large portion of the damage on the Radiant side in total, because as long as he doesn't go and get actually hit by the Storm AoE from his illusions and the Overlord, he's going to be pretty much fine in fights. Although, you know, Skewer and Illuminate, so I take that back. He's going to have to be careful, but he's not going to hit by Nyx.
Yeah, that's the important thing, is avoiding Nyx damage. Speaking of which, Crook has been taking a lot of damage up on the top end, but now Klinks teleports in. It's going to have to be a BKB TP to get to safety there. He finally has that BKB, and it's an interesting pickup. A lot of people would scoff at it, but I actually love the idea of BKB on Nyx after he gets some major damage items. I'll talk about that in just a second after this engagement goes down on bottom, which was a beautiful triangle trap of the Disruptor illusions, or sorry, the Undying illusions, so that he could not get out of there. Completely soul-catchered up on that little point there, blocked in by the 2 illusions that spawned, and he was easily picked off there. Really well played, Shadow Demon. for the win there. But as far as BKB on Lifestealer is concerned, he has Rage, which lasts now 6 seconds in duration. He now has a 9-second BKB. So you start things off, you get the Rage, which only has a 15-second cooldown. That's after Rage expires, you only have 9 seconds left on your CD. What has 9 seconds duration right now? BKB. So you do the Rage, you do the BKB, then you do the Rage again, and you get a full, like, 21 seconds of magic immunity. And that is, again, is like, if you're talking about 8 seconds being a lifetime, that's like almost 3 lifetimes of magic immunity in this team fight. So, yeah, it's going to be very, very effective, and even Beastmaster's Primal Roar will only do so much to inhibit his destruction. However, of course, he needs to stay on target, and he needs a little bit of mobility to do that. So that's on the supports to make sure he can lock people down.
Yep. Klink's now has gone for that crit, and I think what it's going to come down to in fights is this all going to be in time, you know? Is this Magnus going to get off the black hole, not his black hole, sorry, his reverse polarity at the beginning of a fight, you know? Is the Nyx going to be there at the beginning of a fight? Because the supports are so squishy, this Storm Spirit is so squishy. If the Klinks gets on them first, if the Sven gets on them first, it's not going to be a 5v5. In a 5v5 engagement, I think it's pretty safe to say that Radiant has the advantage, but, you know, the Dire team is not looking to force those fights. They're always looking to get kind of a quick advantage, and this Storm Spirit is going for it, tagged with the Nyx. Man, this is one of the most irritating things to play against.
Yeah, going on together, they did the Infest combo with that Storm Spirit ball lightning across. We're able to bring down 2 people, the Undying and the Jakiro. Just so many ball lightnings, but now Lifestealer has to pop everything to stay alive. Your Armlet, he needs to, oh no, he dies from the auto attack range projectile. Now it's going to be the Storm Spirit who jumps over with the ball lightning and will TP out to safety. Yeah, nothing Klinks can do to thwart that, but unfortunately, the Nyx was a little bit slow on that Armlet, and so he wasn't able to survive after that stun. He just died within that, and shortly after, and had to pop his buyback, which is a substantial amount of gold right now, 961, and he's a pretty high level 17 there, so it did cost him a lot, and it's going to ruin his chance to get another big item anytime soon.
Yep. Speaking of big items, it looks like that Sven BKB's been up for a while, and he has picked up a small crit, dude, so he is going to be able to... Oh, is it up?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I think the Dire should never fight again. I think that maybe if they go for 5v5s, it should be at like a peace summit, because there's no way they're going to win a 5v5 engagement against this kind of reverse polarity, which, you know, man, that's going to be really rough on them. Refresher is up. Okay. Now, Klink's, you know, he does a lot of damage. He looks like he kind of wants to go on the Snakes, but again, well, he has some backup now. Maybe they'll be able to get a pick off, and this is what they're going to have to do for the rest of the game. For the rest of the game, they just cannot allow for these big engagements to happen, and it seems like Radiant is trying to come to the rescue.
Actually, Nyx is turning this around. He's going to bring down Glint right here, going to kill the Tombstone immediately after the fact, and all that Klinks can do is run away, but his engagement on the Beastmaster, picking him up before he can even roar, will bring him down without popping off a polarity, so we were talking about not just avoiding fights entirely because of that polarity. He still has 2 up his sleeve, and they've already picked off 2 heroes completely, so going nicely turned around with that BKB. The one issue with Rage on Lifestealer against an Orchid, he can just Orchid it. You cannot pop that magic immunity because you can't cast your spells in the first place, but BKB is not subjected to that, as it provides the immunity through that item. So he was able to turn it around, nice Infest combo, and was not able to pick up the Klinks, but at least the Undying, and setting up the follow-up kill on the Beastmaster as he tried to assist.
Yeah, that's actually a facet of the item I really hadn't thought of. Great decision in that case, because, you know, you actually need to be magic immune for the entire fight, because if you go and get rid of that Searing Arrows, Klinks doesn't do that much damage, you know. He does a lot, but it's not even comparable to the amount he gets with those Searing Arrows on.
This is going to be
just like
possibly the biggest fight of the match right here. A quick attempt to pick off Klinks with that Storm Spirit ball lining on through, but Macropyre will try to prevent them for the time being. The Tombstone goes down on like 2 or 3 hits, though, exiled on about a half life, but that Armlet looks can be deceiving as he can just chew through people really quickly, a lot of lifesteal, but he's already disrupted the roar that goes on through. 1 polarity going on through, pops off again and pulls the 3 again, and a little bit early, so it doesn't overlap the stun, but he got the Beastmaster as well, so that is going to be almost not a full team wipe, not a full team wipe necessarily, but a heck of a lot of damage, burning him down. Now Klinks is on a run for his life, and they do have dust on him for a short time period. He dies to the shockwave, and now Jakiro is the only one surviving. We'll just have to walk away. There's nothing he can do to defend this tower, as Lifestealer can just pop his Armlet over and over and over, and raging up just to get a little bit of attack speed, as he's fearless to try to bring down this tier 3 and subsequently the Rags, but Jakiro trying to do a little bit of harassment, gets picked off by a ball lightning, and a beautiful scare from the Magnus with his Blink Dagger there, so that's going to be Rags for sure, and now they're going to transition down, exiled, going in to farm up some creeps, as the Rags have already been secured with these death timers here. Big fight for the Radiant team.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Please?
Yeah, I can hear what's up.
Dire's top barracks are under attack.
Is there an issue?
Dire's top barracks has fallen.
Nope, okay, he lagged out, but for the stream I will continue, and hopefully we can get him back in just a short time period. But yeah, that was just a really, really good engage. Are you back?
Yeah, it seems like I'm back.
Alright. How do you feel about that team fight, man?
Oh, it went really well. I find that, you know, when I have a Magnus with a you know, level 16 reverse polarity and a refresher on my team, things generally turn out as I expect. But one really crucial thing there was just the amount of raw damage on the Nyx makes the fact that Tombstone doesn't stay up. So that's a huge portion of the damage on the Dire side just gone. Sven wasn't, you know, he wasn't there at the beginning of the fight, right? So it was basically the opposite situation that they were looking for because, you know, their heroes were picked off, they went in, they weren't 5, they were not actually really good at defending high ground. You know, Ice Pat's great and Axes are great, but, you know, against a Nyx, that's not really what you're looking for. Bot lane, it looks like Nyx is just mounting up.
He picked off on the... it was pretty much the opposite of what Clink expected. He popped off his Shadow Walk recently. That's still a decent cooldown of 20 seconds long. So he wanted to go pick off this Nyx really quickly. There goes the Armlet, the Armlet and the Rage trying to go on in. The Infest pops off too, but he's not able to bring anything down. So extra 3 waves left there. That's a pretty big death timer. 80 seconds. Along with that, they got a pretty big pick off of him since he was actually level 21. That's a lot of experience in the field, but he still was able to buy his Desolator immediately after. Knows that he does not need his buyback, as there's nothing really up other than Roche for them to contest. But yeah, the Clinks got turned around on really quickly. He popped off the Orchid and he thought that he could bring him down, but not really going to be an option when you can just BKB on out of that and turn it around right on your face, and Shadow Walk was again on CD. But now engagement, Storm Spirit wants to try to pick off Jakiro, completely out of position here. Pops up a nice Ice Path, but it's not going to be enough. As Keeper Light finishes him off with a little bit of Illuminate Brilliant Light Magic, so that's going to take him down and maybe gives him the opening to look at Roche.
Also, I might be dropping again, so if I do, just feel free to finish the cast on your own. I'll try to fix out the problems on my end.
Okay,
but
cool.
It looks like it's stable right now, but, you know, it's being a little bit weird.
Sure enough, no big deal, one way or another. But yeah, right now, looking at the gold graph, skyrocketing up. They have almost like 35% lead in gold, and pretty similar story for experience. Just flew up like crazy in the past couple of exchanges, so that's a really big deal. Taking out those racks, of course, is going to happen. Looks like he did DC out, but not a big deal. We'll keep on going with this. Beastmaster does some good counter push action with the Wild Axes, as well the cleave action from Sven and things like that. Hopefully he'll come back in. I'll mute that annoying noise, but nevertheless, yeah, Jakiro and Beastmaster providing a lot of good counter push. Surprised there's only one Liquid Fire, but you know, when your support's only level 11, you got that problem. So they're gonna try to make things happen. Smoke up to initiate, but all the Radiant are like, hey, we're here, we're ready to go. Let's get it going. So the Infest on the ball, Lightning. There goes a bunch of big immunity, double magic immunity right now. He's definitely not gonna get stunned out, but can't say the same for the Storm Spirit as he gets caught out. Nice damage from the Sven, cleaving it up. But now Magnus pops up one polarity, but gets stunned up by the Ice Path. He pops off the second polarity at the very last second, but nevertheless, just too much damage. Beautiful action from Jakiro, staying out of it, aiding an Ice Path so that he cannot just stack those up on top of one another. They were able to bring him down, and now the tables have turned so much, as now Storm Spirit bought back. He wants to try to bring down Clinks, but he cannot die again. If he dies a second time in a row, he's never going to see sheep this game, that's for sure. So that's going to be very painful. But now this opened up Roche. They have these Necronomicon units, the Necro Dudes, which will put out some decent damage on the Roche right here and try to bring him down rather quickly. And there are 3 Radiant heroes up wanting to try to stop this, but the first polarity went on through. Sorry, the second polarity didn't even get off. The animation and the sound effect went on through, but it did not stun them again. They were already stunned, so not a big deal. But yeah, that definitely turned around, not in their favor. And Lifestealer picking up that Desolator. One mistake that he made, he popped both Rage and BKB simultaneously. They only last 5 and 6 seconds, so it cost them quite a bit. And he lost a lot of his immunity time, and as soon as that was over, he got completely crippled, along with that, and the Crystallis. Blah, I have to focus on my enunciation. But yeah, Storm Spirit got picked off really quickly. 12 armor is pretty good, but 1400 HP, not so much. And so the Sven, with that crit, was able to bring down that Storm Spirit extremely quickly. But nevertheless, I'll send a quick message to Rain, and then we'll continue with the cast. Anywho, so what we have going on here, we do have Shadow Demon with the Force Staff and the Ghost Scepter. He has the ability to be the physical immunity as well as that mobility with the Force Staff. He's pretty well farmed up, but in general, in the broader spectrum of things, it's going to be harder and harder for the Dire to come back. I do like this Geometry Sight pickup in some ways, but not in others. First of all, you're committing a lot of gold to it, so you're not going to be able to get like a Vitality booster, tank up a little bit more, maybe get some more bonus armor, finish up Vladimir's or something along those lines. But all the same, it does give you a lot of benefit in the sense that where you're walking around, you know that other people can't see you. Nice roar. He cannot TP out of the race, so he's going to have to pop a BKB off. He does indeed do so, but he wants to go aggressive, and this may be a big mistake. The mechanism pops off. He gets the Necronomicon Archer, which they'll just send back into a safe position in base. They know he's in there, and they want to bring him down. He doesn't have a Blink Dagger, so he won't be able to jump on right on out after the Infest goes through. So pretty much their objective right here is to put him in the worst position possible. He's going to try to wait out, rage, and TP. That's what he wants to do, but I'm not sure if that will work out for him. There he goes. He didn't turn on his armlet. Oh, big mistake. And he does take a fall. I'm not sure if it would have helped him out, but one way or another, he does drop down. That's another 80-second death timer. One thing you really don't want to have happen at this stage in the game is you could put this much gold into your Nakes. He is at 470 GPM, and you put that much into him, and then he starts throwing. He starts dropping down and feeding unnecessarily. At this stage in the game, he has a huge death timer, and unfortunately means that you're going to have to wait for that big hard-hitting truck to come back up before you can really do anything aggressive. Along with that, the Lifestealer hasn't really built to synergize with his team necessarily. He's really, he's synergized with himself. These are great items on a Lifestealer in general. The BKB, the Armlet, and the Desolator, he's judged the opponent's builds and capabilities very effectively. But to try to synergize with the team, I would have actually thought maybe Mjolnir, try to get some AoE lightning procs and get that the buff that you put on yourself so that there will be even more lightning across the board there will help out for just the amount of AoE that you need to try to help out with Magnus. But of course you do have the Empower, so if you're empowering up the Lifestealer, that Desolator extra bonus damage will cleave up and be very beneficial. So we'll see how that works out. But the Necronomicon rank 3 has been picked up on Beastmaster. There's not really any Invis heroes on the Radiant, so that's not going to be that big of a deal, but it's still something to keep in mind as it's really good utility, not only just for not just a pushing item, it's also really good for the it's the utility of the attack speed and movement speed, aura coming out of the range one, as well as a little bit of mana burn to try to prevent Magnus from getting a couple of polarities off. But if he gets any intellect item at all, presumably Shiva's would be his next item of choice, so he has opted for the Crystallis for the time being. But if they can mana burn him out, like let's say 300 mana, no, actually 600 plus 375, he's sitting on thin ice. He only has maybe 200 mana to spare, and that's if he's full without you casting any other spells. Just for the double reverse polarity, it costs a total of 975, so that's a lot of mana. He can use the Arcane Boots both times around. If he does that, that's 220 extra mana, but the Necronomicon, focusing him down with that, the mana burn from the ranged one will burn down his mana, as well as the auto attacks from the melee one, and might actually prevent that second polarity from going on through. So we'll have to see if that works out for them, but for the time being, they're looking for a wombo combo of initiation with the Smoke Egg coming up here. With the Magnus going on through, he has the Infested Lifestealer right on in. They can jump on Krook so hardcore, looking for the disruption to start things off. They get it. Now the Soul Catcher has also got on him. He will pop BKB immediately though. Looking for the big ultimate. There goes one reverse polarity. Looking for the second one. Pulling in 3 once more. Lifestealer just trying to deliver as much damage as possible. Burning down 2 now. The Undying Jakiro and Clings have fallen. Jakiro has bought back, but Beastmaster already dropped down. Stormspirit may drop down as the fact that he cannot get over the cliff without ball lightning. Just not enough mana there, but nevertheless that is a heck of a lot of damage coming on in. But the Lifestealer dropped down to the base. He just wasn't able to sustain against the Sven auto attack damage. The Mask of Madness is a real problem for surviving if you pop it off and you get focused really hard. 30% damage amplification received, but it's a godsend if you're just going full DPS, glass cannon mode, and everybody's ignoring you, and that's what happened there. He got many crits off, he got some cleave action off, and most importantly, he got a heck of a lot of physical DPS going out to bring down the Lifestealer, who was magic immune at the time, and as well as the Storm Spirit. So good action from him, and that brings Sven up to 6-3 and 11, which means that he's been hurting on kills for most of the game. Now going on through, but it looks like Rainmaker is all fixed up, so I'm going to call him back in, and hopefully he is reconnected into the game. Not too sure, but we'll see. Are you in the game right now?
I am not. I can be.
Okay, well, if you want to hop in, we're still in the game, obviously. So it was a pretty big fight that actually favored the Dire. They jumped in behind the tier 3s of the mid, and what ended up happening was the Sven went to town, didn't get focused at all, popped off that Mask of Madness, was actually able to bring down a number of heroes. The reverse polarity, really, really strong, but Sven a little bit stronger if he's not caught up in it, so he was able to catch everybody off guard there, and with that day Dallas now finished, he's going to be delivering a world of hurt. Keep it alight, denies the tower, gets tier 2 mid, which they were focusing on just a moment before, but I love this board positioning from the Radiant, or sorry, the Dire on the Radiant plateau here, getting some aggression, allowing to push in on this tier 2 and try to bring that down in no time at all. And just like 15 minutes ago, Klinks was searing arrowing the heck out of this tower, trying to bring it down really early on. But it seems like so much time has passed since that had occurred, because now they are pinned in their base and they really don't have too much room to breathe and go out and just play around like that. They were playing so aggressively early on in the game, and they kind of need to get that momentum shift back. Right now, Klinks is looking for that BKB. That'll be a really good start, but the reverse polarity will still penetrate, and that's something they really have to watch out for. Geometry Sight was on the field, but again, not that big a deal. Klinks can still outrun it rather effectively, and unless Disruptor is able to force staff and get that disruption off, and by Disruptor I mean Shadow Demon. But whatever.
Right.
Are you...
okay, you're in. I'm here. Things are working, it looks like. I have... But one other thing I'd like to note is that I really like this pickup of the Mask of Madness from the Sven. I think, you know, right now I don't think they really want to extend a team fight against Snakes. What they really want is just to go and like kill 2 heroes immediately. And what Mask of Madness plus crits means on Sven, you can just, you know, this Storm, the Keeper of the Light, the Shadow Demon, they're just dead. You know, if he goes and catches them, if he pops that and gets a couple crits, then they can't really stop that, and that's the kind of fight you're looking for, because I think I was talking about this before, I might have gotten dropped, but fights against double reverse polarity are never really going to, you're not going to be able to win them if they get the jump on you, but if you're able to get the jump on them and immediately kill 2 of them, I think that this kind of team can actually fight through the reverse polarity and the Nakes, as long as they don't have the backup in terms of that Storm Spirit who has his Hex, in terms of that Eridar who has Disruption, Force Staff, and that Coddle who's, you know, quite importantly, the mech carrier.
Yeah, I like this Vladimir's pickup from the Beastmaster. He had a Basilius for a long time, as did the Undying, but he finally upgraded it to the Vlads, getting the extra 3 armor aura to his teammates there. Salt Kuros wasn't really in their reach just at this stage in the game, based on the goal graph still being heavily favoring the Radiant, but we're going to have to see an engage here really, really abruptly. The smoke has expired, but now Magnus has been stunned up by the Storm. We're trying to bring him down immediately. The Ice Path will do the trick. Look at that cleave onto Keeper of the Light. He does have Ghost Scepter, already popped it off, tried to survive, but the Undying Decay will actually get some bonus damage out of that, as well as the Strength Steel to finish the job there. Magnus will buy back and try to get in the fray. The tier 2 has fallen, so they're just going to have to turtle up on the tier 3, and this is going to be the fight that decides the game. Roche will be respawning after this, and either team has the opportunity to push in on Rax immediately after this fight. So we'll see exactly how it works out in their favor, but 5 versus 4, generally pretty good, but it looks like the carriers are teleporting back to hold off against this continuously pushing top lane.
Yeah, I don't, even though they were down the Keeper of the Light, that is not their most important hero. Like I said, it's carrying the mech, but it's, yeah, with that Nick still on the map and not sure, they weren't able to really capitalize on that. Really, I think the ideal is they're able to go and catch the Storm Spirit or the Magnus again. If they can catch the Magnus now with his buyback on cooldown, it's going to be huge. But one thing that I'm noticing about this Magnus is he's gone for crits, and I'm not sure if that is a correct itemization for him, because all he really needs to do is kind of survive, because the damage is being dealt by others. And wow, this is a very, very sad... Oh man, are they going to be able to pick up that Storm Spirit though?
Almost, but the Orca didn't do enough there, so now engagement going on for Glint will get picked off immediately. Magnus still has a couple ultis up his sleeve, but is on rather low life, so has to watch himself, but looks like Beastmaster going to try to TP on out. Will manage to do so. I love that little axe waving animation, but it's going to be a favorable pickup for the Radiant, and now Roche respawning just as I speak, and they're going to be looking for that in a moment's time, but Jakiro has bought back, wants to pop that Macropyre in the pit if he can, and so he will jump in as soon as he can to try to bring that down. They have good vision from the Dire, putting up pretty much everything they need to see around in this circle around the Roche pit, but so do the Radiant now with those wards they put up in that location there. I don't think they can counter the ward up on the top on the eastern end, but it will be doing a lot for them. So as we transition into the 46-minute mark in this game, it's definitely coming down to who can just initiate appropriately and do the damage that they need to do right off the bat. Ball Lightning is a really good initiation. They don't see the ward here though, the Sentry Ward is not in range, so Storm Spirit is very visible. They know they're going to try to initiate with that, but they have the haste rune, so they can go as far as they need to. Pulls in the Boar. Greater Boar is totally stunned up right now, but instead they're going to go initiate on Jakiro. Pops off the Macro Fire, but gets obliterated. Otherwise, no Ghost Scepter. Keeps him alive for a moment's time. They're switching over to Sven. He doesn't have Aegis or anything, so he does drop down. Looking at buying back immediately, and now they're going to focus down onto the Clink, try to bring him down. With Overload, they might do it. Now Mana Leak, every single step he takes, he will get stunned up if he moves an inch at all. Now he can't even cast a single spell. They pop off the dust, they see him, all landing goes on through, needs one more auto attack on him. At the same time, Beastmaster will probably focus down as soon as this roar expires. Lifesteal needs to pop, yeah, he does beautiful armlet toggle, but he does drop in the end. Now Stormspirit is completely out of mana, so all these buybacks may finally be paying off for the Dire as they're finally all grouping up together to try to bring two people down. Keep the Light and Storm Spirit both out of mana. They just need to pursue a little bit further. The board can be summoned if he wants to, but he apparently doesn't. The Disruption goes down on the Beastmaster, and now Shadow Demon with that Force Staff may get his teammates out, but all the same, he does get hit up by that stun, the Stormhammer, and now he's trying to Ghost Scepter just to survive on the southern end. It looks like the Storm Spirit has finally, the chase has ended, he has taken a fall, but on the other hand, Lifestealer able to bring down the Beastmaster, and that's really big, as well as the Clinks. So it looks like the Shadow Demon and the Storm Spirit just recently fell to the Radiant, but Beastmaster, Clink still in the grave as they look towards Roche.
Yeah, and that's with this Roche, I believe, yes, this is in fact a cheese Roche. So with that on Storm Spirit, well, Storm Spirit's dead. Actually, wait. Nyx is... Okay, they are going to be contesting this, right? Because I think...
They can't give Sen the second life. They really can't. They have
Yeah.
to try to do something, but all the same, Jakiro, with his half-life, should be enough to try to deter what they're trying to do here. Lifestealer has that BKB still available. He is getting destroyed, though, at very, very low life, and he actually takes a fall immediately after. Didn't pop either of his magic immunities by the time the Storm Spirit, the Storm Hammer hit him, and was able to be crit up insanely fast and drop down immediately. So Cheese is going to be temporarily picked up by Glint. Not sure if he's going to hang on to that or just give it to Crook after the Aegis expires, but one way or another, this Fen has 2 lives and really wants to use them. Man mode is all he's about right now, as he wants to put pressure onto the tier 3 mid. With this Lifestealer, again, this giant death timer being focused on. He does not have buyback for 3.5 minutes due to all those exchanges back and forth, and now that's going to be this 60 seconds that the biggest 60 seconds of the Dire team's life, as Tag really wants to just try to finish the job here and push in onto this tower and finally take a tier 3 of their own.
Yeah, also, one thing to note is that this Sven, they do have Glyph up, but this Sven should actually just go on quickly buying at him, because they want to go and get the most they can out of this minute, now down to 40 seconds, and he doesn't have buyout for another 2 minutes himself. So if he goes and picks up, maybe a Hyperstone, like theoretically, he wanted an eventual, but he doesn't have slots.
He'd have to sell like a drum and pick up a Reaver or something, so it's very painful. Need the treads, and the Mask of Madness has done a lot, but he also, of course, needs the Aegis to be immortal, so very difficult. But God Strength has been popped off, going for the tower, but it's going to be a quick pull-in from the Storm Spirit. Electric Vortex followed by a Disruption. Glint in a pretty bad spot, but it gets pulled out by the Ice Wall to some extent. Now Sven just wants to focus down these racks. They want to get out before the Lifesteal respawns, but not going to happen. Magnus pulls in the Reverse Polarity, first death, and actually unnecessarily popping the Reverse Polarity. I don't agree with that for second Polarity, but just wanted to get it off as best he could. Disruption comes on out. Lifesteal are going to TP in 3 seconds. Now Sven, he has no magic, meaning he will get pulled in and completely obliterated, Lincolning up on the Stormhammer, so he will drop down. Double kill technically for the Shadow Demon in the end, but yeah, they were only able to get the melee racks, and now you see the arrow, you see Orange's intention. Lifestealer, the Boots of Travels up to the top creeps and immediately wants to go aggressive on these towers, which do not have backdoor protection due to the fact that the creeps are in the base, but instead going to try to head off on Glint, try to get an open wounds there possibly. Yeah, he should see him at nighttime. What? I don't even know. There he goes.
Well, he's going. I think, he just wanted to take his time with it.
Now, Lifestealer does get roared up, but he has plenty more available up the sleeve. Disruption, beautiful Disruption coming out. Magnus does not have that ultimate. The blind goes to follow up the Skewer, going across. Tons of damage across the board. Nice action from Jakiro, burning down everybody, and a couple are going to take a fall from it. Really, really good counter push and counter pressure from Jakiro, be able to aerial denial and burn down so many in the process. The Lifestealers in the grave, as well as Shadow Demon and Magnus now. Storm Spirit is working it up. He didn't have any mana anyways, but I think Beastmaster will be able to lock him down. Yeah, Ball Line's not going to save you there, buddy. Keeper of the Light was able to TP out and was going to probably try to recall the Storm Spirit, but dropped down too rapidly. And in the end, although the Tier 3 tower are taking a few hits, it's going to come out on top for the Dire, as they again want to put pressure back and forth, back and forth. That's how 50-minute Dota works, as now we have so many carries that have such long death timers. Level 25, Lifestealer, 24 for Storm Spirit, and Sven.
It looks like they're just going 4 mid. They're going to have the Sven clean up. He can actually come out, buy Boots of Travel, and join them in the fight as soon as it's up, and just, cleave down the wave to protect the towers. 4 seconds, I'm pretty sure we'll see just about that. And with buyouts, you know, still no buyout on Nakes, no buyout on Magnus. It's going to be very difficult for them to hold this. Amazing turn of events for the Dire, really playing it out well. Great itemization. Necrobook did a ton of work that fight, and they just fought through a Magnus who had his refresher up. You know, I think what you said about him kind of being overeager with that second reverse polarity in the mid lane really cost them, because they could have used that 4-second stun when he blinked on them. He had 4 of them in range for reverse polarity, but since he had already used it, it was just not enough.
Yeah, and now that is the 3 racks down. They're going to be looking for the tier 2 pretty easily with Clinks and Volvo. Backdoor protection may have something to say about that. Going to burn it down, but Strafe will expire eventually. Actually, yeah, no, he's just going to walk away. Now the TP comes in. Shadow Demon looking to force staff in to disrupt him. Actually, just get the disruption off by itself. Do they have any detection, though? Doesn't look like it. So Soul Catcher means absolutely nothing. The dust comes out too late, and he's going to be able to walk on out. But looking at the experience graph for the first time, there was this giant insurmountable mountain when that Magnus hit the double refresher, winning a couple team fights in a row with that. And that mountain has been contested, and now sloping on down. It's for the first time Dire in the experience advantage since like 10 minutes into the game when they're winning the team fights. So, and now it's actually going to be, after all this mess, 0 gold between all the teams as well. So it's really just going to come down to who can perform at best. Sven actually didn't buy any items. He has 5,100 gold. Buyback is not that much. 750 is the death cost, and 1829 is the buyback cost. But where do you think he's going to be going with that 5,300?
I wouldn't be surprised to see an AC. I think that would probably just be best to go. It synergizes, you know, just well with his already kit. He just wants to attack really fast. The extra armor will be just good for the team, and almost more importantly, you know, it's a good aura for the creeps if you're just kind of standing around and poking at their towers.
So you think he should still build based on trying to avoid the polarity at all costs, and then not having to tank through that just as soon as he gets into it, try to deal as much damage as possible?
Yeah, because I mean, like, as good as hard is the other option. I mean, this you're talking about here,
yeah.
And I just don't think that's going to be as useful. If he's had good positioning now. You just look at him; he's standing far away from the rest of his team. With the drums and the Mask of Madness, he can be at max. He can, you know, haste his way into any fight he wants to get to, and I think they should just do his best not to get trapped in polarity. Place that burden on the Magnus to go and force him to catch you.
Finally, a ball lining BKB coming in on BlazeCasting, trying to burn him down before anything takes ball, and Best will help it out. He does not get that roar off. Sven picks up his God Strength, but immediately disrupted out. Master Madness popped as well. BKB now Lifesteal trying to bring down Glint, putting a lot of pressure on him. On the back end, it's going to be Sven that tries to bring down the Magnus. Does manage to do so, but not before the polarity comes on through. So they are all caught up in that. Lifesteal is going to pop, just TP on out with full life, and with Storm Spirit on a quarter mana, he should be able to get out as well. Looks like Shadow Demon's going to be the only one to take all the disruption. May even try to keep him alive with that Force Staff. So it might be, in the end, nothing in favor of the Dire other than the Magnus kill, which isn't the end of the world, seeing as he already popped off his ultimates.
Yeah, I mean, that, you know, but trading a Magnus just for an Undying at this point of the game, I think, still favors them, because while they're losing the pipe, Undying doesn't really do anything in fights, while, you know, Shockwave still does, you know, fairly reasonable damage, but more importantly, Skewer and Empower on that Nakes is, you know, a huge source of their deeps.
The biggest deal here is the 2 tier 4 towers drop down in the process, so they need to defend this, they need to turtle this here. They have the Glyph of Fortification, but they need to hold it off. Now, here comes the biggest fight. Pretty much possibly the game changer right here. Clinks gets sheeped up, he doesn't have his BKB available yet, but he does have Cheese, pops it immediately. Lifesteal on low life, going to get chopped up hard by Sven, does take a fall, and with that, all their damage is gone. They have no way to contest this anymore, and I believe this might be Dire's good game, but finishing off the team fight here, Sven just focusing down the Ancient, and that's going to be the end. Wow, what a...
That was absolutely fantastic game of Dota.
That is certainly something. Yeah. Wow. No, they played the late game extremely well. They got caught out a lot in the mid game, and they didn't necessarily play their strengths. The Clinks got a lot of his ganks backfired on him, and he didn't get the momentum he was trying to get rolling there. But they did have a Sven and Clinks in the late game stages of things. I was actually really impressed with Jakiro. He was able to get to his level 20, and with that the Macropyre was very, very crucial in a couple of quick engages, killed up a bunch of supports on the back end, that kind of thing. So one thing I really liked about Dire's play in their engagements was they were able to split up the team fights where the Lifesteal was in one position, possibly the the Storm Spirit as well, and then everybody else was on the other end. So they were able to pick off the supports by themselves, and also possibly the Magnus, and then they were able to single out the Lifestealer after the fact. So they kind of engaged and focused appropriately, and they, I mean, hard fought, but both teams, I think, deserve that win, but it goes to tag in the end.
Yeah, just really fantastic play. One thing to note is I think that, you know, towards the end of the game, the Lifestealer's farm kind of tapered off a bit, and he did, after that Desolator, he just didn't have another big item while, you know, the Clinks, and he was basically dealing with the Clinks and the Spin. The Magnus going for that Refresher basically meant that, you know, he wasn't going to get a huge damage item, and he wasn't very tanky either. So he couldn't kind of take the focus off of the Lifestealer and you'd be like, hey, you have to attack me now. Storm Spirit did that to some extent, and they did have double Hex, right? The other really crazy thing to think of is they fought these team fights through double Hex, through double Reverse Polarity, just fantastic positioning on the Dire team side. I feel like I missed a very crucial point, because I dropped, and when I dropped, that was a team fight where I'm guessing they lost Rax. And I'm like, well, you know, this is going to be, I'm going to be dropped. When I get back, the game's going to be over. But so, like, you know, I'm going to have to go and look at those VODs on your channel and see exactly what happened there, because this is a crazy game, and I'm really happy I got a chance to cast it.
Yeah,
great
awesome
job to
stuff.
both teams.
Awesome stuff. Alright, well, moving on to the next one, just a quick plug of channel. This is twitch.tv/BlazeCasting. Thank you for tuning in for this one here, as I am an up-and-coming Dota caster. I'll cover SECS and a couple other tournaments and in-house sets as well. I do have a YouTube channel that he just mentioned, youtube.com/BlazeCasting, and then that is Rainmaker, and I try to cast with him whenever I get the opportunity to do so. It was a lot of fun casting this game with you, and we'll move on to the next one very, very shortly after.
Yeah, cheers and GG's.